put your phone down, just think, just feel, and just breathe. Honestly, life is very confusing. You just gotta keep doing it and just have a positive, optimistic look on life.
I think that's what makes life worth living.
I feel like fulfillment will bring you the most happiness, but fulfillment doesn't mean you're happy around the clock, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.
So essentially, there's no such thing.
It's impossible. The only thing you can control in life is yourself. Everything else is up to the world.
Ego is what allows you to think you're invincible. Ego does a lot of things, but will ego fulfill you? Welcome, guys. Welcome back to another episode of OTM. What's up, Karen? How you doing?
Hey guys.
I wanted to just start the episode right into it with a little monologue to sort of bridge us into what we were going to talk about today. I took a little bit of time to write this down. It says, we spend so much time trying to become better versions of ourselves, more healed, more aligned, more evolved. But nobody ever talks about the parts of us that we had to bury just to survive. The anger we were told was too much, the fears we were told to get over, the traits we learned to hide because they didn't fit who we were expected to be. I felt the need to write this because today we're talking about shadow work, not the trendy version, but the uncomfortable truth. The healing isn't about fixing yourself, but rather meeting the parts of you that never got a voice. I want to share that with you guys today before we get started. We'll just roll right into it. I'm going to ask you the first question before we get going. When life falls apart, would you say it's misalignment or is it a necessary reset? Or could it be a mix of both when life falls apart?
I would definitely say it's a mix of both. Funny because lately this Bible verse keeps popping up. Like when I was in Ghana, it was a part of the preaching. A couple of days later, I see a reel. And then even just today, I was in my house, I was watching a podcast. Matthew McConaughey was on it. And it was basically there's a time to weep and a time to laugh, a time to mourn, and a time to dance. And I feel like in life, it's very necessary, it's very necessary for bad times to happen. I think a lot of the times we take life for granted and life just isn't linear. And if we don't experience certain things, we don't appreciate others. If we don't experience loss, we don't understand what it is to love and what it is to have. So although sometimes things is hard, I feel like it's very necessary in terms of like growth and gratitude. And I think the ultimate purpose of life is self-mastery and evolving. And if we're constantly in a state of comfort, then there isn't any evolving, there isn't any growth, and you won't appreciate anything because everything is just consistent.
I think just kind of running off on what you said, I think people do sort of have an understanding of what you're saying in theory, but I think when it comes to getting self-motivated, trying to understand the difference between misalignment versus, failing in order to succeed, because sometimes you do have to take a couple steps back in order to take a couple more steps forward. And so if it be in your personal life, how are you able to discern the difference between, okay, I'm not aligned and that's why things aren't going the way I want it to go, versus I'm accepting this beat down that the universe is giving me and I believe it's coming from God and I'm going to continue to take the necessary steps and wait on his turn?
So I think there's this misconception that alignment automatically means happiness and it means comfort. I think alignment is more about honesty. It's more about authenticity. It's more about truth. It's more about who you are or who you want to be. So sometimes alignment looks like getting out of a toxic relationship, even though you love the person to death. Alignment could look like leaving some friends because they no longer reflect the trajectory of where you're trying to go. And those situations aren't necessarily comfortable, but ultimately, it will bring you the most fulfillment. I think when you're talking about alignment, you really got to ask yourself, because you can always just say, okay, this is God trying to teach me a lesson. But I think, sure, that's true. But it's also when certain situations arise, instead of like taking it and like allowing those situations to consume you, you should ask yourself like, okay, who am I? When you're dead broke or you just got out of a relationship or you're heartbroken, you could dwell in that state of uncomfort. You can just be heartbroken. You could just be broke. Or you can ask yourself, okay, cool. You can say, hey, I don't feel good right now. I'm not happy, but who am I? And once you ask yourself who you are and you're able to decide who you are, then you're able to navigate the situation and see how you're going to get out of it. If you don't feel like your worth isn't worth anything, you're just going to be miserable and let being broke consume you. You're going to let heartbreak consume you. You're going to let failure consume you. But if you know that you're meant for something more or that you're bigger than whatever situation it is, those situations, although they can still be hurtful or uncomfortable, you know that there's like light at the end of the tunnel and you're able to get to the other side.
You know, obviously that was incredibly well said, of course, but I think that light under the tunnel thing, man, or light on the other side of the tunnel, it's one of those things where I'm trying to take my mind back to moments when I was in the absolute darkest of darkest places in my life. And presumably I did understand there was a light on the other side of the tunnel just because of my natural orientation. But I could understand how difficult someone would think that it is to see a light on the other side of the tunnel when you probably can't pay your rent and you got to budget $100 for a week because that's all you have for food and transportation, and you can't pay your phone bill and you can't do this and you can't do that. Like, talk to them if you can about how you could falsify a light at the end of the tunnel to give you the necessary motivation in that absolute pit dark place in order to ascend you to the other side where you actually can see the light on the other side of the tunnel, if you don't mind.
First,
and maybe take a personal story and relate it to the frame of question that I asked you.
I don't have my own personal story, but I will bring up a situation with me and you when you were going through like one of the hardest moments of your life. And this is when my life was starting to evolve and we hadn't been friends for a while, and I was just coming to visit you and see you, and you were going through some shit. And I came to your house one time. I think we've already discussed this on one of the episodes. I came to your house one time and you were just complaining, and every single time I would talk to you, it's like, you're always complaining. And I just said, yo, like, Nana, like, are you fucking done? Like, is that who you are? And you always say that, like, that's something that really helped you, like, get out of your funk, because at the end of the day, it's gonna always go back to, like, no matter what the situation, no matter how impossible it feels like it is to get out of it, who the fuck are you? Like, are you a loser? Are you a winner? Are you someone that's gonna be miserable? Are you gonna be happy? Like, if you can't decide who you are, it's gonna be very difficult to get out of situations. So I feel like when you're going through hard times, you really just gotta ask yourself, like, yo, who is Karen? Like, who is Stacy? Like, who is Melissa? Like, who the fuck am I? Like, you can't let your sorrow or your misery consume you. Like, and if you can't get out of a situation or you stay there for too long, like, that's who you are. And unfortunately, like, that's some people's life. Like, some people are just here and they don't really make too much out of life, but that's your choice. Like, you can stay or you can evolve, and that's it. Like, I feel like it's pretty self-explanatory and it's pretty vague, but I feel like that's just what it is at the end of the day.
That's a cold truth that honestly is very hard to dispute. Like, it all comes down to your definition of yourself, like however you view yourself, however you see yourself, whatever you think your best self is. You see, what's funny about life is that everybody can imagine themselves to be some kind of way, but when chaos ensues or there's pressure or there's trouble, it's oftentimes becomes the moment where you're really tested to see if whatever you say you are is what you are. You know, if you think you're a leader, can you maintain leadership skills through chaos? If you are a problem solver, if you're a positive person, if you're a funny person, whatever you wear as your emblem or as your badge of honor, can you maintain those things through chaos? Can you define that and continue to define that as being who you are through the midst of chaos? And it's a lot harder to do than to speak on. So,
and it doesn't mean like you lie to yourself and say, okay, like everything's gonna be okay, or this isn't hard, or I'm not heartbroken, or I'm not depressed. It's more about doing something, like not giving up. Like, you're not supposed to give up in life. Life is it's about self-mastery at the end.
And I don't even want you, because you're slowly creeping into the shadow work portion of the conversation that I want us to talk about. But I'll just briefly touch on what you're saying. It's telling yourself the truth about how you feel about shit as fast as possible is actually the greatest remedy and healing tool in order for you to be able to do what you have to do. So if you're in a funk for whatever reason, you have to be able to go to the root of where that funk is coming from. Tell the truth about it. Sometimes it requires, depending on where you stand and what the situation is about, it requires a little bit of inner shame. You got to embarrass yourself based on whatever metric or standard you've set for yourself. But the minute you're done doing that, you see that whatever metric you set for yourself was just something based on pride. It was something based on ego. It's something based on whatever self-merit you set. So for example, per se, let's say you say, I'm not the type of person, and most people don't say this, they just do it. I'm not the type of person that ever admits that they're wrong. But then you have a day where you can just stand on it and explain and speak on everything that you've done wrong for a particular situation. You tend to find that there's a lot more freedom on the back end of that harder temporary choice, but the long-term feeling is a lot more freeing than if you're trying to hang on to whatever it is you've placed inside of yourself that you think you stand on. I don't know if you kind of understand what I'm trying to say. There's a lot of freedom in self-critique and self-analyzation and self-truth and just being genuine and being honest about what's happening, who you are, what you stand for, what time you're on.
Because when you're honest, right, then the only way to go is up, and the only way, like, that's when you're able to grow. Like, for example, let's say you just got out of a breakup. A lot of times, girls especially, right, when they just get out of a breakup, the first thing they want to do is run to social media and act like they're so happy, go to clubs, go to parties, go hang out with their friends. And it's like, if you're telling yourself that you're okay when you're not okay, how are you actually going to be okay? You're just delaying that healing process for yourself because you're putting up a facade. When you're honest with yourself and you can say, okay, you know what? I'm heartbroken. Because you're able to be honest with yourself, you're able to start healing because you're not lying. But if you're saying, I'm okay, then you're okay. But that's not what's really going on internally. Like, that's just the image you're trying to portray. But that doesn't necessarily reflect what you're feeling on the inside. So when you're honest with yourself, you're able to grow. And when you lie to yourself, that's when you stay stagnant.
I couldn't agree more. I think being able to master this art is like one of the pinnacle things that really like start making you have like true, genuine perspective in this game. And it does create a lot of growth. Like, you experience exponential growth when you start treating life this way and operating this way, not being afraid to swallow the big pill, even if swallowing it means that it goes against you. Like, that's the thing. Like, that's the next level, is understanding the value of swallowing the pill, even if it goes against you.
And honestly, sometimes it's very liberating in a weird way. Like, it feels very free. Like, when you're able to just cry, like, and not pretend like you're okay. Like, when you can just feel what you're feeling, it's a very liberating feeling, honestly. And I think more people should like learn how to embrace their feelings and embrace their inner truth, because it really helps them like ascend, honestly.
So why do you think that the attempt to grow as a human hurts so much? Why does the attempt to, whether it's you want to grow to learn how to be a wife, or grow how to learn how to be a husband, or grow how to learn to be a millionaire or successful, I won't even put a financial tag, successful, grow to learn how to be a better father, mother, whatever department it is you're trying to grow in, why does positive growth hurt so much? Why do you think positive growth hurts so much?
Well, first is because what we know is what we know, right? And we've been so like comfortable living in our reality. So sometimes it's really hard shedding that skin and becoming someone else. Like, even me, when I think about like my relationship with God, like I'm very attached to who I am, and I know that I have to give up a lot of things to like really have a true relationship with God. And I'm not too much of a believer where it's like you have to change every single thing about yourself to have a relationship with God. But I remember when I was I went to church one time, and the pastor like had like this prophecy for me, and he called me up on stage, and he was like, "You're gonna be great. Like God's gonna use your voice to like motivate people." And in my head, I kind of just like giggled, you know, because I know the life I live. Like I know how I go about my life, so I just kind of giggled in my head. And then he was like, "Oh, you're laughing." He's like, "Don't worry. Like you don't have to change yourself. Like God's gonna change you." But going back to my point, it's like it's very hard to like give up who you are to like become who you're supposed to be. And it's like it's not easy like letting go of things, because as humans, like we like easy stuff, like we get attached to like comfortability. But sometimes like if you're someone that really wants to be the most fulfilled in life, you really have to say, you really just have to like want more for yourself, honestly.
I agree with that. I to be honest, I don't think there's really much more to explain as to why growth hurts the way that it does, because I could imagine shedding even the physical skin that I have on my body right now, trying to like burn it off and gain new skin. Just, I'm being literal for a second, but even just metaphorically speaking, like that's a tall tale. Like that's a huge task, because the truth is the thickness of this skin is probably 20, 30, whatever, 40 plus years old. And now you're trying to shed all that thickness off of your body and start afresh again, or continue or regrow the skin. But obviously you're taking positive steps forward. Like it's not something that's just ABC or 1, 2, 3 or simply easy to do. It takes something out of you to shed that skin, to become anew. It takes something out of you. And I think I wanted to touch on this today because I wanted people to understand that it doesn't matter how successful or how good someone's life may look. Not that ours looks like the most successful or something like that. Not even close. But I'm just saying, doesn't matter how someone's life may look. People are always going through work. People are always trying to be better. So far as you're trying to be the best of the absolute best, you're going through shit and you're trying to get better. I guess I'll roll off this to ask you, can you be in alignment and still be depressed? Because we're saying you're shedding skin and you're doing this, and you gotta have the self-truth moments, and you gotta be able to look in the mirror. So presuming you've done all these things and you're in a position now where you feel very balanced, you feel nuanced, you feel like you understand what's going on in the world, you know your moods, you know your feelings, you know how to get out of them, whatever the case may be. Can you be in alignment and still be depressed?
Of course, because...
Or confused.
Of course, because alignment doesn't, like I said, I think I already kind of spoke on this, but alignment doesn't necessarily mean happiness. Like, okay, let's say you're going from a girlfriend to becoming a wife now. Like, being a wife has its own challenges. Let's say you're going from an employee to a business owner. Like, being a business owner comes with its own challenges. Like, there's not really an end goal to life. Like, there's constant growing, constant challenges. And every single time you ascend to a next level, you have to deal with the lessons of that like space that you are in life. So it's like now you're in a marriage, for example, and it's like now you have to learn how it is to coexist with one human for the rest of your life. You got to deal with their moods. You got to deal with their work ethic. You got to deal with their communication styles. Or let's say you become a parent now you have to learn how to raise a child, another human being. That's not easy. That's not difficult. That's not
easy.
That's not easy.
It's very difficult.
There's happiness in it. Like, you have a child and there's a lot of love and there's happiness in it.
But it's very difficult.
But it's very difficult. So alignment doesn't necessarily mean easy or happy. Alignment just means you're closer to who you are and who you're meant to be. And who you are and who you're meant to be should never be easy. Honestly, I don't think so.
Because not many have that privilege. I think we need to first identify that thing as a privilege. So essentially, you're saying that you can be doing everything right and still feel off.
Yeah, but I think alignment is more about fulfillment as opposed to happiness, honestly.
fulfill. So it is. So would you register fulfillment as happiness, or would you say that fulfillment doesn't necessarily mean happiness?
I feel like fulfillment will bring you the most happiness, but fulfillment doesn't mean you're happy around the clock, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.
So essentially, there's no such thing
It's impossible.
to be happy 24. And I think whether you believe it or not, I think that's something that a lot of people like look for. A lot of people look for like a certain level of happiness all the time. And anytime they feel any type of sadness, they can allow it to throw them off so much where they lose touch of reality and the idea that people are going to do things around you that doesn't resonate with what you feel. But that temporary moment should not dictate how you permanently feel. Do you understand what I'm saying by that?
There's a lot of like freedom in just submitting control. Like the only thing you can control in life is yourself and how you show up and like what you do for yourself, the impact you have on others. Like everything else is just up to the world, honestly. So when you're going through things, you just gotta.
So what are some things that you think you do to show up for others? Like just generic.
For me personally,
Like people that you love.
I'm not the best, like, I'm not really like emotional. So my friends don't really come to me with their problems and stuff. Like I'm more of a like, what are you gonna do? Like, we're not gonna be sad. And I don't know, like, I'm not the friend for that. There's friends that are gonna offer you emotional support. I'm more of the friend that like offers solutions. Like, what do you need me to do? Like, how can we get you out of the situation? I'm not into like dwelling in sadness because I don't like to do that, honestly.
Me personally, I try to keep a little balance of both. So if I can help in like physical things that I actually like move the goalpost forward, like I'm ready to do that. But sometimes my help might just mean that I'm tapping you into a certain frame of thinking or into a certain realm of space that provide the healing that you need in whatever it is you're going through. Because it's not everything you're going through that might be monetary or might require some physical action. A lot of things that we go through as people is very psychological or emotional.
It's weird because when I'm going through those moments where like those off moments where like I'm feeling like mentally exhausted or I'm feeling down, I really appreciate like my friends like Monique or like my friends where I can just vent to and like pour on my problems. And then it makes me say, like I need to learn how to show up and be more like a friend like her, you know? I appreciate people like that because it's like everyone's really like, everyone has a role in your life. And like she's just, for example, Monique is just someone that you can vent to, someone that can always uplift my spirit. And for a long time, and still like, you know, you're definitely that person for me as well. Like you definitely give me a lot of good advice and you kind of help me when I'm going through things and you kind of help me navigate through life as well, for sure.
I try to wear a very unrealistic cape. I try to, and it's to my detriment. Like I try to do too much to make everybody around me that I love happy. But I'm also like inadvertently and silently, I would say. And I think a certain event or occurrence made me realize that I'm also very selfish. So I try to balance the scope of being like a Superman for everybody that I love, but at the same time, I try to, I guess the famous phrase of cutting your cake and eating it too. And so I think I had a recent epiphany where I just realized that you can really wash away your intentions of wanting to, you know, be the provider of peace, fortune, you know, gratitude, happiness, if you don't learn how to control the human selfishness trait that we all have in us, but we express it in different ways. And yeah, it's draining sometimes, but at the same time, especially this week, I realized like being me is for me. Like being me keeps me going. That makes like being that shoulder that people, and I don't do this for everybody, so some people are gonna have mixed opinions in terms of me expressing that this is who I am, but being the shoulder that somebody could cry on and as well being the physical, financial, whatever kind of help that people I love need, even when it drags me to the mud, it's actually the very same thing that keeps me going. So even on that spectrum, there's good and bad in it. I bet you if you ask somebody like Monique, she'll tell you that a lot of times she feels drained being the person that like listens to a lot of her friends' problems or the heartache or whatever it is that they're going through. She'll tell you that she feels drained, but that's not the here nor there. I wanted to talk about shadow work. Do you understand what shadow work is, or do you kind of want me to break it down a little bit?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so sorry. I need this more than you know today. Shadow work. So shadow work essentially is that deep dive that you take. And a lot of people, I used to do this program when I had Road to Glory, where I would have like a women's conference and I would get like a huge mirror and I would put the mirror like in the gym. I would obviously turn the gym into like a sort of like an event space type of vibe. And I would get a huge mirror and I would like do all my spieling. I've been running my mouth for a long time. So I'd do all my spiels, whatever, get the crowd motivated. When that part is done, I would pick a random person in the crowd. I would sit them in front of the mirror and I would break them down just by watching their facial their facial gestures and their body language, and just I start off by just taking primitive guesses, but then they start responding. That was me doing shadow work for that individual. Shadow work is when you really try to tap into like the little girl you. Like I'm talking like the 7-year-old girl you. Tapping into that girl, trying to, but from today's version of you, from today's mastery of you, trying to go back into who that person was, where their defense mechanisms come from. I'll give you an example. When I was in elementary school, I wasn't the type of guy that attracted, like I didn't really attract like the females that I wanted to talk to, because I always had a big chest. Like I wanted the best of the best. I didn't really have the whatever it was, the looks, the moxie, whatever it is. I didn't have that vibe. I wasn't getting the girls that the coolest guys in the school got. Fast forward to years later, when I did have the ability to attract that, I feel like I had a moment in my life, and it still sneaks its head and peeks its head, where I overindulge in that satisfaction of being somebody that I know is highly desired by beautiful women that I couldn't get before. These type of things, like these connections and making the connection to like the little boy version of you, that's shadow work. So now that you understand what shadow work is, what do you think shadow work means to you? And have you done it before, but you didn't even realize you were doing shadow work? Or is it something that you could see yourself getting into because you could see the benefit of reconnecting with the younger version of yourself?
I think recently I've been thinking like about myself and like how I was able to be this person that I am today, and definitely has like its First of all, I feel like younger me is definitely someone that I felt like I was very misunderstood. And a lot of people didn't understand me. A lot of people would come to their conclusions about me.
Do you think that's changed?
I think it's changed a little bit because I put myself out there, like intentionally put myself out there. I'm very intentional about which narrative that I put out to the world. But I definitely do still think that I could be misunderstood and stuff. But I don't really focus on the negativity. I'm very much like focused on myself now. And I've done enough to not care. When you amount to things, and when you like start getting achievements and you have accolades and you actually do shit becomes irrelevant. Like all you do is you care about yourself and you care about the people within your circle. But you know, these past few days, like I just understand why I'm so like, and this shows up in my communication style and how I treat my friends or my partners. I'm very like to myself. I think at the end of the day, like all I have is myself. And that's just kind of like how I feel about life, and that's how I show up in life. So sometimes when I'm having relationships with people, I don't communicate properly because I don't feel like there's a need to. Honestly, I think it's safer in my head. I feel like at the end of the day, like, no one's gonna respect me the way I respect myself. It's a pro and it's a con. That's where I find my strength. But I definitely feel like little me was someone that's like, I never felt like I had anyone. And these past few days, I kind of understand that more about myself, and I don't want to change it. Like, there was a point where I'm like, let me change this thing about myself. But sometimes, even when things are bad, when you find comfort in it, like, it's okay. Like, it's okay to just be like, you know what? Like, I'm going to show up for myself regardless. And I'm going to always put my best foot forward. I think life is just easier that way for me personally, when I just kind of depend on myself and I don't depend on anyone to make me happy. My problem is I want to have my cake and eat it too. Like, I want to be like that, but at the same time, I want to experience certain type of relationships. I want to have certain types of friendships. But I really came to the conclusion, for me personally, like, that's my safest space, like, for myself. And this week, I feel like I got a lot of shit done behind closed doors. I didn't really talk about it. And I feel like I'm running off. I don't even know where I'm trying to...
No, just talk.
I don't feel like where I'm trying to land.
We're talking about shadow work. Like, just talk. Feel free.
Yeah, so...
There's no... I think one of the beauties...
No, I was trying to, like, land, but I kind of...
You were talking about you were insecure about the younger version of you finding so much solitude and isolation. But you've gone through whatever you've gone through this week, and you've come to the conclusion that isolation is actually your strongest and your safest space, and it's what makes you perform the best.
Yeah, honestly, I feel like these past few months, I've been trying to change that thing about myself. But I realized when it's all said and done, like, I'm the person that brought myself here. I'm the person that did this, did that. Like, no one can actually make me happy. And a lot of the time, sometimes when I'm changing things, I need to ask myself, like, who am I changing it for? So for this year, I definitely do want to make a lot of changes for myself, but the changes isn't for anyone but myself, because at the end of the day, all I have is myself. And so far as, like I said, like, all you can do and all you have control over in this life is yourself and in your decisions. And when you're constantly in a pursuit of mastery, self-mastery, you're always going to attract what's for you anyway. So even if you don't get certain things that you want, if you're constantly trying to improve yourself, life just is going to continuously give you the things that align with whatever work you're doing anyways, honestly.
So what would you say within that space? Because you said this week you've come to the realization that at the end of the day, you're all you got. You're going to be the person that can make you happy. You're going to be the person that has to show up for yourself. What part of that do you think is ego versus the part of it that's authenticity? Take a second and scan yourself internally and ask yourself, what part of that metric do you think is ego versus what part of it do you think is authenticity? You don't need to put a percentage behind each one. You can just explain it however it comes to you.
I definitely do think it's a lot of ego. I think it's mostly ego, but I don't think ego is always bad, honestly. I think
ego doesn't have to, sorry to cut you off, ego doesn't have to necessarily ever be bad, but the downfall of any great thing or any great person fell in the hands of ego. So ego is what allows you to think you're invincible. Ego is what allows you to think you don't need what you actually do need. Ego is what allows you to think you don't need to protect yourself, or that nobody could do anything to you. Ego does a lot of things. So in the end, when it's all said and done, can ego hold you for an extended period of time? Of course. But will ego fulfill you? All you have to do is look at historical events, look at everything that happened before you were born, and see how all great men fell.
Ego needs to be combined with truth. So like at the same, where you can say like, I don't need this friendship, I don't need this relationship, I don't need this job. You also need to look at your life and look at the options and look at what you created out of your life and what it's gonna bring out of it. So I can say certain things because I've done certain things. I can say, I can let go of this because with the resources that I've accumulated, I can go this way, that way, right? It's also about being honest and being truthful. You can't say, I'm gonna leave this relationship or I'm gonna cut this friend off, but you haven't created an environment where you even deserve a better friend or you deserve a better partner. That's why when you're gonna choose ego, you also need to choose self-mastery. You can't just say, fuck this, fuck that. It needs to also be combined with a lot of self-work. It needs to be combined with working on yourself, whether it's going to the gym, whether it's fueling your body with nutrients, whether it's drinking more water, whether it's reading more books. Like, you actually have to like commit to, you want to leave something, commit to get something better. You can't just say, oh, I'm going to leave this, I'm going to leave this behind. I get so much like fuel from revenge. Like, that's what keeps me going. I get a lot of fuel from like leaving whatever situation and getting into a better situation. If you're not like that, you can't have ego. You're allowed to have ego if you're gonna be someone that's committed to bettering yourself. And if you don't do that, then you can't have pride. Like, you can't have pride if you're just sitting there doing nothing.
Great point. Anybody can. Why you getting so riled up? What's going on?
I don't know. I'm not getting riled up, I swear.
I mean, listen, you can you can have all those things even if you haven't generated certain resources for yourself that allow you to have it. But what I want you guys as the audience to do, and I had the privilege of doing this before intentionally, and I'm going to suggest it to you guys. Pick 3 to 5 really old people in your life, maybe somebody that's like 80 plus years old, and ask that person. And please make sure you pick people that are like, not just like people that didn't like really amount to much, but people that also amounted to something really big. Like, try to find the scope within the two. Find both and ask them, what was their greatest fulfillment and or their greatest regret? That's all I want you to ask them. What was their greatest fulfillment and or their greatest regret? When it's all said and done, the people, the things, or the moments you never want to lose are the things that made you feel alive the most. Everything else, mind you, not literally, you still want to make sure you chase your resources and you put things in order, because you can't enjoy life to even reminisce on it after if you don't. But everything else is completely fiscal and easily repairable. That's the difference between ego and what really needs to happen. Authenticity. Ego versus what really needs to happen. Authenticity. Anywho, one of my benefits that I really got when I was going through my dark place, and I still use it till this day, and I haven't completely figured it out yet, but it's having the ability to slow down and allowing your mind and allowing your central nervous system to calm down and align with whatever you're going through. Sometimes we carry over the things that we experienced from the moments when we were not in our best position, and we carry those same nerves into the realm and space of when we are successful and when we are achieving things. It's one of the most detrimental mistakes you could ever make. Carrying the emotions or the twitches or the nerves that you had when things weren't going well and carrying them into the moments when God and the universe wants to allow it to go well and align you and put you in purpose. That twitch is completely unnecessary. Slowing down doesn't mean it's not going well. Slowing down sometimes, not all the time, but sometimes just means that systematically and functionally within you, you need to regroup, put your mind in order, put things in order. See, things don't always need to go like this in order for you to know it's going well. But if it's bobbing and weaving and it's creating like how it looks on StatsCan, and you could see that there's dips, but ultimately the rise is up, you got to follow that trend. Anything linear is bound to crash. Just like stocks, just like crypto, just like life. Anything that's completely linear is bound to crash. You're not unmotivated. You're just simply overstimulated. And this is further support to me talking about the idea of slowing down. I feel like when people come to on motivational pages like ours, or people see the kind of things that we talk about, the automatic feeling they get is go, 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 go. You should. Motion equivalates to, the turnover of fortune. I think you have something that you say that
an object in motion stays in motion.
An object in motion.
But doesn't mean you gotta move fast. It means you just gotta move.
You just gotta move. And that's basically.
And more times, slow and steady does win the race at the end of the day. Like when people say get to work, they don't mean like have everything figured out tomorrow. It means just keep going, honestly. Like, and sometimes like because we have social media and we have a lot of people to compare our lives to, like we just want to do things fast. Like I think there's a time when everyone thought they're going to be married with kids at 25 years old.
It's almost as if you're holding the iPad. That's literally what I was going to bridge into next. Go ahead. 25 years old.
It's like even when I was in Ghana, one of the preachings the pastor was talking about is like he was basically saying the same thing, like slow down. Like everyone has a season, and someone could become a millionaire at 25, die when they're 40. Someone could become a millionaire at 40 and live until they're 100. At the end of the day, your life is your life. Mm-hmm. And as long as you're comparing yourself to people, you're not going to be able to experience or align with who you truly are. And I feel like it's very important sometimes to kind of just put your phone down and just meditate, like, and just think and just feel and just breathe. Like, that's the purpose of life. Life isn't about to like have everything figured out. It is about being intentional. It is about trying to find your purpose, but it doesn't mean that you need to have everything figured out in the blink of an eye. That's not what life is, honestly.
No, I don't think that's what life is at all either.
I think everyone kind of wants to have everything right away, but then it's like, and then what?
It's like, what would be the point of living if you just had everything right away?
It's kind of annoying though, because it's like, oh my God, like, bro, I didn't ask to be here and do all this shit. Like, I hate that. I hate that about life. Like, I even screenshotted a meme today where it was like, I think it was like, does anybody know what the point is? I screenshotted that today. I was gonna post, and it's like, honestly, life is very confusing. But honestly, you just gotta keep doing it and just have a positive, optimistic look on life. Honestly, to be honest,
I think that's what makes life worth living, ultimately. And with that being said, guys, thank you so much once again for tuning in. We're trying to get faster with the way we come in and the way we punch out. We go through our ups and downs, but the support you guys give, the comments you give, I tell you, even if it's not Karen, it definitely motivates me, moves me, and makes me feel like this thing is impossible to stop. I really appreciate the comments that came in the last 48 hours. You just never know what somebody's going through and what they need and don't need. The support is extremely appreciated. Thank you so much. OTM, off the muscle. We're doing this till infinity. We're out.
bye.